Hello. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about something else, of course, that people with aquariums are going to be using at some point, particularly those of you with saltwater aquariums removing, say, a coral nipper or a just plain mean fish. Now, in the other video I talked about a do-it-yourself fish trap and how to do that, and that works sometimes, but sometimes you need to go with a full-fledged fish trap. So I'm going to cover the one that I personally bought and have used to trap a couple of fish. This is the Seaside Aquatics collapsible fish trap from Amazon. It is the smaller one. Its dimensions are 3 inch by 3 inch and then 5 inches long front to back. So it is designed for a small to medium sized fish. If you've got a larger fish, then you need to go with their 4 by 4 by 6 one, which is a bit more expensive. I think it's about $50. But anyways, I use this to trap both a aggressive snowflake ocellaris clownfish and a small to medium sized yellow tang. So believe it or not, yes, I actually did catch a yellow tang with this trap. The way it's set up here, you have this tube here that you put your food in, and it's got a rubber band so you can kind of adjust the height there. If you push down on it, you can make it go lower if you want to get it down lower for a smaller fish, or if it's a fish that needs a little more room, you can adjust the rubber band on it and it'll sit up higher. And of course it has a cap here. Now the one thing to be aware of is that a lot of times once this thing fills up with water, the cap and other things have a tendency to float, so you want to make sure you get the air bubbles out of it before just leaving it alone. Otherwise, you could end up with a cap on the bottom of your fish tank and then having to fish it out, which is, of course, a whole lot of fun. It does have slotted vents here, and it does say it is collapsible, but realistically, I would say once you assemble this thing, just go ahead and keep it assembled, because the rubber bands that kind of hold these little things in place, kind of see them stretched out here in the corners. They are really designed just to be put in place. I have had a couple of them snap. The good news is they send extra rubber bands, so if you break a couple, it's not the end of the world. You've got some extras in there to hold it together. And then once I've held it in place, I just store it somewhere. Given that this is a smaller trap, it's not a huge space concern. So now, you'll see here it's got the method for mounting it. This is really good, especially if you have a rim tank. You can just basically rest that thing right on the inside rim on the top of your tank, and it should hold it in place there fairly well. It does wiggle a bit. It's not as snug of a fit because it is a plastic screw. However, it will keep it in place well enough to get the job done. Now, unfortunately, and I have to really kind of put Seaside Aquatics on blast for this. Their trap method is really goofy. What they do is they put in, I'm sorry if you can see it there, there you go, a clear little tab of plastic that you insert through this hole in the door here, and it holds it in place. And then what you're supposed to do is get some fishing line string and hook it to here, and then stand off to the side and wait for the fish to go in for the food, and then you pull the tab here, and then it slams shut. Quite honestly, this method is ridiculously impractical. I'm not a fan of it, so to be quite honest, I don't even use this. Here's the method I prefer to use with this, and it's a lot less hassle. It just takes a bit longer. I go in at first and I put the fish trap mounted on the inside rim of the tank, and I just leave the door off of it. What this does is this allows the fish to become comfortable with the trap being there and get used to the idea of going in and feeding out of it. So what I'll do is I'll just do that, and it might take you a few days, so just be prepared to be patient for this if you use this method. And then once they get comfortable swimming in there and feeding out of there, then what I will do is, after the fish leave for, because they usually come in and out, then what I will do is I will take the door here and maybe just kind of mount it a little bit at an angle like this. And then once the fish come back in, the desired fish, of course, comes back in to eat, then I simply, since it's sitting mounted at the top of the tank, I simply reach over and just give it a little tap and do that. And I kid you not, that is the exact method I used to catch my yellow tang. The door went shut on him before he knew what had happened, and of course he freaked out a bit, as all fish do. But anyways, I found this method to be far more effective, and that way you don't have to stand off to the side with a string, you know, waiting just to pull the string on that stupid tab and hoping that it closes right on you. Or that the tab doesn't pop out, because honestly, this thing pops out very easily. So much so that it's kind of frustrating. Now, you can format this. I would say this is better served for fish that's a meat eater, a carnivore. However, with the tang, what I did was I took one of those suction cup seaweed clips that you normally would feed a tang or an herbivore fish with, and to put the suction cup right on the bottom of the fish trap. And then what I would do is I would start here at the end, so it was dangling out just at the end, so that the fish would get used to the idea, oh, there's, you know, seaweed coming out of there, and they'd come up to start biting on it. And then progressively, as they got more comfortable with it, I would move it further and further back. As such, then it put them at the point where they were going all the way into the trap. And of course, generally, your aggressive fish is going to tend to be usually one of the more dominant ones in your tank. So he's probably going to be getting more than his fair share, so it's a little bit easier to trap them that way. So anyways, that's the method that I use for the tang. And of course, the hole that's left in the top is way too small for something like a tang to get out of. So, I mean, obviously it depends on the kind of fish that you're trying to catch, but that is an option for you. That way you can configure that. Now, the one other use of this thing is that if you have a smaller size fish, you can use this as an acclamation box, just to get your fish used to things. And it's perfect because it's clear, so they can see into the tank and everything. It's got these slotted vents, so you can get current flow there, and it works very well in that regard. Now, this fish trap, as mentioned, is about $41 shipped from Amazon. It is a great trap overall. It is one that I would definitely recommend for people who are, you know, at wit's end. They don't want to tear apart their tank or whatever, trying to get rid of a fish. Or, as I said, doubling as an acclamation box for a smaller fish. I actually used this for my pajama cardinal to acclimate him, and it worked perfectly for him because he's just a little guy. So, anyways, that's all I've got, and thanks for watching.